In May of 2017, Hellah Sidibe set a goal for himself to run for 10 minutes a day for 2 weeks. Little did he know that once he started, he wouldn't want to stop. Hellah has run every single day for the last 7.5 years. He's even known online as the running streak guy. Over time, Hellah's daily 2-mile run turned into 50 miles a week, which eventually turned into a 3,000-mile run across the country. And you know what? Once he finished the journey from California back to New York, he woke up the next day and he went on another run. I'm Shelby Stanger, and this is Wild Ideas Worth Living, an REI Co-op Studios production presented by Capital One and the REI Co-op MasterCard. Before it became part of his daily routine, Hellah felt very differently about running. He grew up in Mali, Africa, where he played a lot of soccer. Eventually, he was recruited to play at the University of Massachusetts at Amherst. Hellah never could have dreamed that soccer would lead him to become a sponsored runner. In college, his coach made the team run a lot, and Hellah hated it.
At the University of Massachusetts, my late coach, may he rest in peace, Sam Cook, used to love having us run. He would tell us, you might not be the most talented team in the country, you will be for sure the fittest team in the country. So that means that we ran like it was our job, which it kind of was, because playing soccer is part of the game. And to a point that the UMass track team would say, are you guys the UMass soccer team or track team? We always see you using our track. And his mindset was, if one person messes up on a team, everybody messes up. So the saying is one band, one sound. And we would run when we don't have to run. We will run when we have to run. I love playing the game. I was a starter, but when it came to fitness, I would get sick feeling. My teammates would see me looking so nervous. They would actually think it's funny. I didn't like having a day off, because I know after a day off, coach will be like, you guys have fresh legs. We're going to run again. So I was scared of running because of what he did. And I'm so happy that it happened, because he said to us one time, you're going to wish at one point in your life there's someone there that pushes you as much as I am, even though you're not seeing it yet.
Hellah despised running, but his coach's relentless conditioning routine made him a better athlete. After school, Hellah was recruited to play soccer professionally. He bounced between the minor leagues and training camps, hoping that a major league team would pick him up. But every time a team showed interest, Hellah ran into immigration challenges. It's a complicated world of contract money, visas, and immigration sponsorship. Hellah had the skills, but bureaucracy got in the way and no one would sign him. Hellah was feeling broken down, so he turned to running to pick himself up. So you're 26, you've been out of college for 4 years, you've been trying to make it as a professional soccer player, but immigration hiccups have been keeping you from actually being able to secure a spot on a team. How do you go from this to then in May of 2017 just starting to run?
I love YouTube. I'm a huge car enthusiast. I love sports cars. So I watch a car YouTube channel called Supercars of London. This guy named Paul Wallace. When I was watching his YouTube channel in 2017, in January, he said in one of his videos, you know what, I'm going to do something physical with fitness this year. Every day or something, I got to be consistent. And I'm sitting there looking at this guy, and this is my thought. You're the biggest car nerd in the world. I'm a Division I athlete. I play professionally. There's no way I can't handle that. So, you know what? I'm going to run every day for 2 weeks. I'm just going to try 10 minutes a day. And I was thinking, I'm in this deep era of my life. I don't know what to do with my life. I'm not a medical professional, but I think looking back, there are signs of depression. But I needed a way out. And I thought about, stop pointing fingers, Hellah. You're making excuses. Why don't you focus on something you can control? And that's how everything started.
Okay, so that first day, May 2017, you run 10 minutes, inspired by a car YouTuber, which is so funny. How did you feel, and why did you decide to keep going?
So it actually started before May 15th. I just don't have proof of it. But I went out there, no pressure, and spring was in the air. I was just running, and I just found myself smiling because no one's yelling at me. Pointing fingers at me. It was my own will. And I was like, I can stop right now if I want to. So it felt amazing. And in fact, 10 minutes was the goal. I ended up running 2.64 miles. And then I'll come back the next day, keep going. The 10 minutes didn't last a week. Within the first week, I would get lost in the neighborhood trying to explore different streets. And before the 2 weeks, I ran to Belle, my fiance, and I said, hey, I'm going to try this every single day for 365 days. So that's how the streak happened.
And so since you love YouTube, were you filming this on YouTube? Were you tracking
Nope.
it? No.
This was not meant for social media at all. This wasn't supposed to be what it is today. And I'm super glad that it became what it is. But it was a self-discovery. It was all about me. I needed to fill up my cup. I didn't care about anybody else because at the time I was in so much pain that even me looking at somebody would piss me off for no reason. And they didn't do anything to me. So I needed to work on myself. But the reason I became on social media was because about like a month in, Belle was like, this is something really cool. We should put it on YouTube. And I said no. But she kept insisting. So finally on day 163, she said, come on, let's do it. And we did a video and the title was Why I Run Every Day. And it was an 11-minute video. I stood in front of the camera and explained to an audience that didn't exist why I run every day. And I talked about why I started running and how many days I'm in, which was 163 days. So it was not meant to be like, hey, let me do this to record on social media. It was, let me help myself out. And then social media was like icing on the cake, I guess.
Okay, so I'm curious, like how many days did you start to feel better about yourself? I mean,
within the first week.
Okay.
Yeah, first week. It was apparent because I like when it's warm. It was winter. Winter was just done. Spring was in the air. And I knew 10 minutes I could do. But the best is there's zero pressure. And I appreciate what my coach did for me. But it was great that no one was yelling at me. What are you doing in the back of the pack? Get your so-and-so up in the front kind of thing. So I just felt good that I was doing something for myself instead of making excuses. Like, hey, you are doing something at least. So I don't have any regret. That was the best feeling of all.
Sounds like you had like self-agency. You were like, you know what? There's things that I can't control, but this is one thing I can control. That first year, was there ever a time where you were like, I don't feel like running?
It hasn't happened for 7+ years to this point. It's crazy. Because the thing is, I tell myself I get to do this. No one's making me do it. And it's my kind of, people have their little zen, their little peaceful time. Running is not always easy, but for me, I feel invincible. I feel like I can do anything I put my mind to. I feel like it's me. And I tell this to people, sometimes stuff happens in life that's really tough, but we don't just give up on life. We find a way to fight it. So running is life to me. There's days that are tough, but even the tough days, there's something beautiful about it.
As he kept running, Hellah started to look at the sport differently. His daily run became a time to find joy when other parts of his life were feeling dull. Hellah also established a very important rule for his runs. They had to take place outside. He might warm up on the treadmill, but the actual run needed to be out in the fresh air, regardless of the weather. Hellah has run through rain, ice, and snow, which, as you can imagine, is not always the most fun or pleasant experience. But overcoming challenges and discomfort has been one of the most valuable parts of his running streak. How have you stayed injury-free?
So I've never been injury-free. I tell people that. And so my first year, actually, I had this posterior shin pain. It was so bad that I would run on it and get home and I'll go hide in the back of the room almost to tear. That's how much pain I'd be in because I didn't want Bill to see me and tell me, you should stop. And I fought it, but it lasted 2-3 months of just bad. And I didn't tell a soul. And I'm not telling anyone to do this. You got to listen to your body. Injury is a thing and it could be something bigger than it is. But what I learned from the first injury there was instead of running 7 miles a day, 50-mile week, I cut it immediately to 3 miles a day. So 21-mile week. That wasn't working. I cut it to 2 miles a day, 14-mile week. And then my body had less time on it. And then the recovery started coming. So there's some injuries I get, but the goal is to minimize it because it's bound to happen. So how can I minimize the injury? That's always been my process.
Okay, so what do you do when you get injured? Do you ice bath, sauna? I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of tools.
I have so many tools. I tell people I have no excuses. I have all this recovery gadget that I use. I see a manual therapist. I see a deep tissue masseuse where it's not fun at all, where I'll be sweating and screaming on the table to get off. So I do all the things that I have to do. But the thing is, for me, I learned is prehab instead of rehab. We all tend to wait till we're hurt and then we rehab. But you got to prehab. You got to do the things that you're supposed to be doing. You got to make sure you're doing your activations, your warm up. You got to make sure you're doing your soft tissue massages post run or post long hard workout. When you're watching TV, put your calf on a foam roller, let it melt, any little knots, even if it's a tiny one, because that ends up being the bigger knots. So I do everything I can within my power, because my mindset is, if there's a will, there's a way. It might not be the way that you want, but there's always a way. So it's up to you to figure out that way.
What's the minimum number of miles you have to run for it to count for you?
For me, if there's nothing really bad, like with the injury, I was still doing 3 miles. It was enough that I can tolerate that pain. But I've done as little as 2 miles. And an example that made me do that. So a couple of years ago, I had an oral surgery. And my surgeon, orthodontist, was like, it seems like you have high pain tolerance with your running thing, but I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about blood pressure. The more you do activities, you're going to have a mouthful of blood. So I kind of was like, believed him, but I kind of wasn't thinking it was going to happen. And he's like, I don't want you to rip your stitches. So before the surgery, that morning, I ran 6 a.m. The operation was at 8 a.m. So the next day now, I waited till as late as possible so I can run before midnight. So I went out there around 8 p.m. and I'm like cruising. I'm feeling good. I'm actually running in like 6 something. I remember vividly. And then next thing you know, my mouth is full of blood. It was bleeding. I was like, uh-oh, he's right. I'm like spitting, trying to run. So I cut it. I after I hit 2 miles, I'm like, okay, Hellah, I know you can. I was thinking about going 5 miles that night. And I just was like, this is not smart. You got a couple miles in, you're good. And then I cut it short. So I've gone 2 miles, but 3 miles minimum is comfortable for me. Like yesterday, I did 3 miles after a long day.
How do you feel after? Like, why do you keep going?
Because I just feel so good. I am so happy. So I came up with this term a couple of years ago, because anytime like I don't look myself, Belle would be like, did you run yet? I'd be like, no, actually, you're right. Maybe it's because I need to run. I'll go run and I feel the best person ever. So I don't get hangry, I get rangry.
I love the term rangry. It's amazing how just 20 or 30 minutes of moving your body outside can make such a big difference in your mood. Right from the beginning of his streak, Hellah could tell that running was making him feel a lot better, both physically and mentally. His initial 2-week challenge turned into a goal to run every day for a year. When he reached the end of that first year, Hellah looked back on how the streak had transformed his life. He knew he couldn't stop.
So I'm like, yeah, there's no way I'm stopping after a year, because I just enjoyed it so much. And I said, let's do it for the second year. And the second year challenge in my mind was, am I going to be mentally strong enough to repeat it? And after running, 2,800 miles the first year, averaging 7 miles a day. Second year, I ran 1,700 miles because I was injured. It was that shin that was just bothering me. And it was a year of mental toughness. I told myself, it's almost like I knew it was going to happen, but with the injury. And now the third year, I told myself, let's make that the year of joy. Bring back with how the first year was. So the first year was just self-discovery. Second year was year of mental toughness. Third year was like, let's go back to the first year. There's no injury now. Let's just enjoy the process of running. And don't get stuck up on averaging 7 miles a day, because that just happened automatically the first year. So to my mind, oh, you got to run at least 7 miles now to keep that up. So I just let go of everything the third year, and it was as beautiful as the first year.
So the first year you were just running to run, and then maybe the second year you were still running to run. But now are you running to do races or running for like bigger goals?
Yeah. So also within the first year too, I saw running was a privilege that not everyone has. And I was telling myself, I know I can get to it 365 days. You can't tell me that I can't do that. But I started seeing things when you run on the street. You start having sympathy for other people. And you see people who are on wheelchairs, who are handicapped. And I was like, wow, what they would do to walk, let alone run. And I was running for them. So when I'm out there, I'm like, I'm running this person I just saw today that couldn't walk. And I didn't care about racing, but I did my first mile race in 2018 after a year and just went all out. My lungs were burning, like it feels like somebody lit your chest on fire. I don't know how to explain it. When I was doing that, I'm like, Hellah, this is temporary pain. Someone literally is suffering every single day. And even though I was running to better myself, I started thinking about other things and other people. So within the third year, I thought about running across America.
Let's play a game. If you could turn your everyday spending into limitless possibilities, what gear or apparel would you grab? What ticket would you book? Which wild idea would you make a reality? All right, I'll go first. If I could go anywhere and do anything like right now, I'd pack my bag for a surfing and hiking trip to Chile. The good news is that the REI Co-op MasterCard is the perfect card to support wild ideas like mine. It has you covered with rewards and benefits that encourage your love of the outdoors. This card is exclusively for REI Co-op members, taking your membership even further with card rewards on every single purchase, whether you're shopping at REI or anywhere else. And you can redeem your card rewards as you earn them, so you can finally grab those new hiking boots you've been eyeing, stock up on snacks, and keep more cash in your pocket. Head over to rei.com/MasterCard-podcast to see if you're pre-approved today. That's rei.com/MasterCard-podcast. Terms apply. Hellah Sidibe started running in 2017, and he hasn't stopped since. As of the day of this episode comes out, Hellah has been running for almost 2,800 days straight. The running streak has helped him gain sponsors and make a living as an athlete and a content creator. With support from brand deals, Hellah was able to make another wild idea into a reality. 2.5 years into his streak, he came up with the wild idea to run across America. So that third year, you were like, what if I could just run across America? How did that happen?
So I came out of the shower, I remember, and I was in a dining room. I'm like, I think I want to run across America. And Belle goes, uh-oh, what are you talking about? And this is like, I wanted to do it before the pandemic happened. And I started talking about it actually since 2019 and then wanted to go in 2020. But the pandemic didn't allow that to happen. But I said to myself, I want to do that because I was also tired of being home. So I'm thinking to myself, you can explore the country, but run for somebody or something. It can't be about me because when I get sick of it, I'll probably come back home and continue my streak. So I have to have a reason to run for. So that's how we did our research and found the nonprofit Souls for Souls. It's about giving shoes, and one shoe can change your life. And where I grew up, having a pair of shoes goes a long way. So I ran across the U.S. on their behalf and raised money and collected shoes for them.
Okay, back up. So you're like, I'm going to run across America. And then you just did it? Or how did that go from idea to reality?
So I started talking to my sponsors at the time, Gymshark, and I told them my goal. I wanted to do this, and I've mentioned to a few other connections that I had, hey, I want to run across America, and I want 100% of everything that I raise and collect go to the nonprofit. And I got a new manager at Gymshark. As soon as she heard it, she immediately went to the big boss at Gymshark, hey, how can we make this happen? And then it was just like, boom. And we started figuring out how we were going to make this happen. And we had no idea what we were doing. We've never done something like this. So it was just me, Belle, and my best friend driving the RV. And she was driving the assistant car next to me for safety. And yeah, we started in LA on March 1st, 2021 and finished in New York City, May 23rd, 2021.
That's pretty fast. How many miles did you average a day?
So I was averaging 36 miles a day. And looking back at it, I think it's not a lot. But back then it was like, oh my goodness, this is a lot. 3,061 miles. But I had never done any ultra distance consecutively like that. I've run a 50 mile by myself one day for fun. I was like, I'm going to go run 50. But this was one of those things I've never left sea level. And I went to altitude. I had no idea how bad it was. And I was so hurt. In the first half, it took like 50 days. And the second half, when I got to my natural habitat, the flat ground in the Midwest, I was averaging like 47, close to 50 miles a day. And then I made up so much time that I did the second half almost 20 days faster than the first half.
Wow, that's amazing. Was there a memorable day on that run that you'll never forget? I mean, I'm sure every day was memorable, but is there one that you just love talking about?
I love being in New Mexico. People are so nice, especially the Navajo. They're incredible. Some of the nicest people I've ever met. You would meet somebody here, the message would travel across the state. By the time you get to another 30 miles, someone's waiting for you because they heard that you're coming. And we had an RV where we would sleep in the middle of nowhere. People have offered their land for us to be safe. There's so many things that happen. I've had people offer me money. Somebody said to me, you look like you could eat. And I said, no, I'll take the money and donate it though for the nonprofit. I have food in my RV. There's so many incredible things that have happened. I can't pinpoint one exactly, but there's also some things that happened that were scary where it was really tough to get through, but I was able to get through.
Do you want to share one of those moments?
So the first one was the first day I got on Route 66, iconic road. And this lady across the street goes, hey, what do you think you're doing? And I'm all excited. I said, I'm running across the country. She goes, for what? I said, for a nonprofit. And she goes, well, that's bullshit. You're about to get cut. And I'm like, maybe she's joking. But I saw her charging toward me. And then I said to myself, I don't think she can catch me on a foot race right now. But if she has a knife, maybe she could have a gun. I'm not taking the risk. So I sprinted across the road. I was telling Bill to stop. She stopped, unlocked the car door. I jumped in. She whoops a U-turn and takes off. And the lady's still trying to chase the car. I'm like, you're not going to catch a car. So we had to call the police. It took 2 hours for police to come. I had to go back where I stopped to resume my run. And then Officer Liker was her name, escorted me through. But I was more annoyed that 2 hours I could have covered so many miles that she took away from me because the days were going pretty quick. And then Missouri was the worst. That's when a bunch of teenagers from a high school decided to use racial slurs as I was running by.
I guess when you run across America, you see the worst and the best in people.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, even though I said that, there's so many stories that I didn't even touch. In fact, we got cops calling us every day. And one officer was so nice. He said to me, I'm sorry, you look like you're busy. Have a good day. He understood. He's like, leave this man alone. But that being said, also, I say 98% of the country is so nice. It's not what we make it seem like on the news. There's way more good than bad. Way more good.
I've talked to two people who've gone across America. One is Pete Kostelnick, who ran across America.
Pete is the beast.
Yeah, he's awesome. And then I have another person we interviewed who's a musician who walked across America, and like along the way, he got bit by a rattlesnake, and I've spent time with both of these guys, and walking across America was so awesome and profoundly changed their lives. At the same time, like the next day they were still the same person, but they were different. I'm sure the experience, like it did for Mike, like it did for Pete, profoundly changed your life. And I'm just curious, like how and when it showed up.
It changed my life in a way where nothing else have changed besides that we are so spoiled. That was it. I used to take showers in the RV. I never went to bed without showering for 84 days. But it was a 1-minute shower because the RV had so much water in the tank. I would literally wet myself, use my sponge, and then just scrub myself and then rinse. But it was a timer too. I'd put on 1 minute. And then I realized, wow, at home I could stand in front of the water, sit there for 10 minutes, just wasting water, take my time. And then I realized also how privileged we are compared to the rest of the country out east, especially in the Navajo Nation. People have to go to Dollar General to do their grocery, and there's no fresh produce. So we were stacking up our fridge with as much food as possible. And I talked to somebody from, he's at Dene, he's from the Navajo, and he said to me, Hellah, we drive 50 plus miles to go get food, and it would be a Dollar General. There's no grocery stores. I have a grocery store literally within a mile. I can walk there, run there. I drive because I'm lazy. So that's the thing that changed me, the things that we take for granted. And when I came home, oh my gosh, I thought everything was big. I thought water was so nice, warm, hot water. I thought I can get fresh produce. I took those for granted. You just like, it's part of life. It's part of the day. And then you realize, nah, not everybody has it like you do.
Hellah returned to his regular life with a renewed sense of gratitude and a new interest in ultra running. While he was on the road, Hellah listened to a lot of audiobooks, including Born to Run by friend of the show, Chris McDougall. The book inspired Hellah to run the Leadville 100 in 2022. The year after, he ran the Western States 100. These days, he continues to compete in marathons, ultras, and even speed races. I love that Hellah isn't afraid to try new things, That's part of what people love about him. He is endlessly positive. How do you hope your running journey impacts other people?
My biggest goal is make this a world where everybody's just happy. You know, sometimes you have so much joy, you feel guilty that, I feel guilty that we can all feel happy. So I just said, let me share what I do. And hopefully, even if it's like a minute or 30 seconds of that Instagram video you see there, where you can smile a little bit and not think about what's not working out right now. I don't want it to just be me. There's a lot of things out there that can make you feel so excited. So that's my goal. But also, knowing that you got to fill up your cup first. There's a saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. Fill up your cup, but do not forget to pour into somebody else's, help somebody else out. So my goal is to able to share that with the world and have everybody do their part.
I love that. What advice do you have for people who want to get into running?
Do something attainable. Don't look at somebody, especially on marathon season. You see all these amazing race videos, awesome. Don't try to go run 10 miles or whatever. Do something attainable, and then do a pressure free. And then the last but not least, which I tell myself, give yourself permission to quit. The reason this streak is going, because I give myself permission to stop. If I go out there today and I'm miserable and it's bringing me back to the dark days, I'll be the first one to say, hey, the run streak is done. And I won't be sad about it because it was good for what it did and it has changed me. So do something attainable, do it pressure free, and give yourself permission to stop.
For a guy with a 7-year running streak, I really did not anticipate Hellah's advice to give yourself permission to stop. It makes sense with his joyful motivation. This streak has never been about hitting a certain number of days or even a certain number of miles. It's about challenging himself, finding joy, and spreading happiness. If you want to find more about Hellah, you can follow him on Instagram at HellahGood9. That's HellahGood and the number 9. In my interview with Hellah, I mentioned past guest Mike Posner, who walked across America in 2019. It's one of our team's favorite episodes. We'll put the link in our show notes for you to listen. Wild Ideas Worth Living is part of the REI Podcast Network. It's hosted by me, Shelby Stanger, produced by Annie Fassler, Sylvia Thomas, and Sam Piers-Nitzberg of Puddle Creative. Our senior producers are Jenny Barber and Hannah Boyd. Our executive producers are Paolo Motola and Joe Crosby. As always, we love it when you follow the show, take time to rate it, and write a review wherever you listen. And remember, some of the best adventures happen when you follow your wildest ideas.